Hi there. Today I'm going to show you how to set up an ADS-B aircraft radar receiver using piaware on outernet Dreamcatcher. The reason why I'm using a Dreamcatcher is because um, it's a single board PC with a built-in RTL-SDR. Now, it does have two different connectors on it. We're only going to use the one. One of them has amplification and filtering for L-band application. The other is just a standard uh, SDR, RTL-SDR port. So we're going to use the one. Now, the reason why I'm using this is because, uh, well, because I was able to pick it up for so cheap. They went on sale for about 39 bucks, and I like having it just as a standalone unit. And it worked out cheaper than doing a build using a Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to show you how to do a setup on there. Now, there's two ways to go about it. You can just use dump 1090, or you can use the piaware package with dump 1090. The reason why I use the piaware is because I like to actually um, contribute to FlightAware. There is some advantages to it if you do provide um, um, airplane traffic and whatnot. There is upgrades to your account that can happen. I don't know the exact details of it, but I just like giving back to the community. I noticed that in my area there wasn't many people broadcasting um, um, this information, so I figured, you know what, why not have a standalone unit and be able to give back to the community. Here on my desktop, you'll actually see the piaware versus just the standard dump 1090. Right now, 1090 is actually acting up on my local machine, but nonetheless, um, you can kind of see the difference there. So I'm going to get into basically how to set this up. It's a very quick and easy process. So what we're going to be using is, we're actually going to be using a Dreamcatcher right here. Um, and I'm just using an antenna from another project. I do have antenna that is designed for ADS-B reception. However, it hasn't come in yet, and I haven't gotten around. That's going to be a more permanent setup, going to be set up on my roof, and I'm actually going to have the Dreamcatcher in my attic. Um, so why don't we get right on into things? So the first thing that you're going to need to do is I'm just going to actually turn this off. And you'll see that it is now disconnected. I'm actually going to remove the antenna because I will show you and explain to you why we'll be using that port. And as well as I'm going to remove the micro USB. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to grab the Linux distro that we are going to be putting on the Dreamcatcher. So you can go ahead, you can grab this from Outernet's website. I'll put it in the description. And we're going to use Win32 disimager to write actually to a micro USB, which we will then put into our unit. So I've already gone ahead, I've downloaded the image, I've already extracted it, so all you'll have to do is you'll download the image, you'll extract it to whatever folder, then you're going to use Win32 Disimager, and you're going to write the distro to the micro USB um, um, uh, micro USB. Yeah, sorry, mine kind of went blank there. So that's going to take a couple minutes to do. While that's setting up, I'm going to show you, move that. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to actually connect a micro USB to your Dreamcatcher. Now we are going to be connecting it to this micro USB connection. It's the USB OTG. You'll see that it is labeled on there. A little hard to see, but just trust me, it is there. So we're going to connect that. And while that's connecting, what we're going to do is we're actually hooking up the antenna to this port. This one is for L-band applications, while this one, it bypasses those filters. So we're going to just go and screw that on. So it's only going to take a few minutes to write to the micro SD card. Once that is done, what we'll do is we will put it in the slot. I'll show you which slot, and then there's just a few different things we need to do to set up the Dreamcatcher. Honestly, it takes about 10 minutes, and then you're up and running. It's really that simple. Yeah, let's just hold on for a few more seconds, and we'll get going. So now that that has written successfully, we can eject it. So we're actually going to be using the second micro USB port. So the one in the middle, not the one on the end. And then we can go ahead and we can reboot the unit. I guess you could have just not plugged it in yet, but I did. So nonetheless, we will reboot that. So once Windows has recognized that it has been connected, we're going to want to open the device manager. Go down to ports, and you're looking for the PI USB to serial. So in this case, it's COM4. We're going to use PuTTY, connect over serial, COM4 in this case. We're going to use a baud of 115,200, and we're going to connect. So the default password is, or username and password is root, and then password 1234. So right off the bat, it's going to ask you to change the password. So I'm just going to go ahead and change that. Oops. Put in a new password. So now that we've changed the root password, the first thing it's going to ask us to do is to create a new user. So in this case, I'm just going to use the user SDR. You can leave all that information blank. Y to yes, or Y to say yes. And then the first thing we're going to do is we want to actually connect to Wi-Fi. So the Dreamcatcher actually comes with a Wi-Fi adapter. So in order to do that, we're going to use it's nmtui, and it's a text graphical interface for connecting to Wi-Fi. So go to activate a connection, pick your wireless network, put in your password, perfect. So let's just check that we do have a connection, and we do have a connection. One thing you're going to want to make note of is the IP address, and you're going to want to write that down. So from there, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add the piaware repository package. So we can, once again, I'll include this in the description. You can just copy and paste it. And then from there, we're going to want to grab the actual package. Great. Next, we want to run apt-get update. Which will take a few moments. So my plan for my Dreamcatcher is to actually install it in my attic and have permanent outdoor antenna on my roof. With a good antenna, you can actually get up to about a coverage of up to about 250 kilometers, if not more. I've seen it go up to 400 kilometers. I don't think that'll be the case in my area, but I have seen it, and that'll depend on the type of antenna you use and whatnot. One of the settings that we're going to be, well, we'll get to that actually. So next thing we're gonna want to do is install piaware. So we're going to install piaware as well as the dump 1090 package. And from there, do you know what? It's honestly, after we configure a few little tweaks, there isn't really much more to it. It's very simple. One thing I like about this is when it does, if the unit does get turned off, it automatically will start back up and continue acting as a receiver and feeding information back to FlightAware. So one of the things that we're going to do by default, the updates aren't they're configured to be manual. So one thing we're going to want to do is allow for automatic updates. So we can do this by piaware config allow auto update yes. And then we're going to allow for manual updates as well. Next thing we need to do is install dump 10. Install dump 1090. So apt-get install dump 1090 FA, which is for FlightAware. So this is going to install all the other packages that are needed, including the drivers and other pieces of software needed for dump 1090. After that, we just reboot and things are up and running. It's really that simple to get things going. Once this is finished installing, we will we'll do a restart and we'll start looking at some flights. Reboot. And we will lose the connection, obviously, as the unit reboots. And then remember that IP I told you to write down. You're just going to go to that, port 8080. It'll take a few minutes or a few seconds to load. And there we go. We're looking at flights. So as you can see flights in real time. You can see the different paths. It's just started up, so you can't actually see the tracking of it because, well, it's only been tracking for a short amount of time. But one thing I do like about FlightAware is I can actually pick one of these flights and I can actually look up the information. I can look at where this flight's coming from, where it's going to. I can look at the track log, so I can see where this plane has flown before. You can look up a registration, so you can see what type of plane it is, who owns it. It can get really interesting. Sometimes you see, actually earlier today I was tracking helicopters going around Detroit and seeing what companies own them. But as you can see, it's a fairly simple setup, and you're tracking flights. And that's all it is. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will put a tutorial directly from FlightAware's website, as well as links to anything else you might need. Hope you enjoy, and yeah.